All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm kind of trying a new setup tonight because I happen to have my green screen set up, so I'm seeing. I'm seeing if I can maybe make the make everything fit better, so I can also maybe have some other windows in here too, like I know sometimes I like go to the Discord and look up stuff there, or online, just like the Magic Wiki or something like that. So I'm just trying to see if I can get that all figured out. Let me ping the Discord if that does what I think it does. All right, so yeah, we can do that. And then have Scryfall open. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to need it to be less wide. Getting there. It's about right. We'll put it beneath. There we go. Hello, Mechmoose and Sorcerers. Oops. I always forget I need to get my mic closer to my mouth. All right. VTuber logo when? Maybe when I get good. The green screen is just a start. I was working on it for a different video, and then the main problem is actually the way my computer desk is set up is really not conducive to having a green screen up, which is why there's still some black from my shadows and whatnot, but it's good enough. Hello, Gunplate. Glad you could make it. Just light the hell out of the scene. What could go wrong? I mean, I could turn on more lights, but I don't think it's a big enough deal. Okay. So, what do you think of the new setup? Are the card design spaces big enough so you can see what's going on? And then also, I figured it'd be nice to have a browser window open. Usually Scryfall is where we go during the stream, but I just want to make sure that this works well, is a decent configuration. I think the setup seems nice, able to display more info this way. Excellent. Oh yeah, I look beautiful. Okay, cool. Try not to stare at the second wall too much. Self-conscious. Okay. Oh yeah, I don't ever even think about people watching on their phones, which is weird because that can be a big problem for me too if I'm trying to watch something on my phone and then also have to like text somebody at the same time. Also just had takeout burgers for dinner and found that you can apparently mix a milkshake with powdered cricket. Bit tangential, but I wanted to say that discovery. Okay. one question. Is powdered or cricket a thing? Second question. Why would you mix it in with a milkshake? Third question. Why? It's protein. I guess so. You wouldn't eat it without a milkshake. That's a good point. No, I believe you, sorcerers. Yeah, I've heard bugs are a good source of protein. I mean, I've eaten crickets before, usually at like events where there's exotic foods and whatnot. But yeah, not my favorite. I mean, they're not too bad. They're just kind of dry and not my favorite. But I also don't know that I would want to powder it and put it in stuff. Doesn't taste bad. It just feels bad to eat. Yeah, that's honestly probably how I feel about it too. Mealworm is the only bug I've tried that I didn't mind. I had fried silkworm once, and that wasn't bad. It was just kind of crunchy. There really wasn't much flavor to it. Scorpion, when I went to China, that was also where I had some weird stuff. Yeah. I'm not sure I know what witchetty grubs are. It's an Australian moth larva. Okay. Fortunately, insect biomass quantity is incredibly large compared to mammals. Processing all that into food, however, doesn't seem worth it. Yeah, I'm also just like I like meat quite a bit. Even if I can get past the fact that they're bugs and eat them, I don't think they're going to be as delicious as meat is to me. So it's not something I'm personally looking to make a part of my daily routine, but beautiful. All right, I guess I'll go look in the Discord. I apologize. This week I just did not get to looking at the Discord at all, or really interacting at all. So that's my bad. On that note, I am going to start doing 2 streams a week starting next week, and that's going to be on Mondays and Thursdays. So I'm not going to do Fridays because I would like to start trying to go to FNM myself, and I also know that it conflicts with other people's FNM potentially. So I'm going to do Mondays and Thursdays, and I'm going to push it back an hour because it's sometimes I get started a bit late because of my family dinners and stuff. So we're going to do, I guess that'll be 8 p.m. Eastern, Mondays and Thursdays. So I'll make sure to put that info in the Discord as well. All right. Sorry, I'm just doing a lot of reading in the Discord. Cyber5 left a lot of thoughts on the red-white theme, which I will agree. We maybe didn't quite get there on selling the Spellslinger theme for Boros last week. So there's definitely more debate to be had there. What about a spell that can't be cast for a case file? Okay. Do you mean it can't be cast like by itself? Like it has no casting cost, but you could cascade into it or something like that? Or it says this spell can't be cast, and you need to find a reason that it would be helpful? I think it definitely could be a thing. I think that's a good concept to start with, but we definitely need to figure out how it's going to be useful then. Like it could be sort of like Bridge from Below, where it's only good while it's in your graveyard. So like you could cast Bridge from Below, but there's really no point. Yeah. Splice spell with no casting cost. There's the old one I think is Evermind, and I'm not sure what the newer one is. I mean, we have a Splice onto creatures spell. We could look into making that a thing. Making that like a colorless. No mana cost. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not sure if it's actually worth it to do that, but it would be interesting because it would give like a third version of, like a third iteration of Evermind. Cyber5 says, personally, it doesn't have to be weapon/equipment, but I feel the Boros theme should be something artifact related, so that way it can have cross synergy with the Azorius and Izzet themes. Maybe it could be something along the lines of exiling artifacts from your graveyard or sacrificing artifacts from the board. In some way, using the artifacts or scrapping them, and then you're done with them. Instead of blue-white, which is more like making technology for continued use, red-white's more about just use it and lose it. Okay, Defiant Mars agrees with Cyber5 on that. Gunblade says, I do love the idea of having spells with only alternate casting costs, like a ninja that you can only ninjutsu in. We could see about making a cycle of non-castable case files. That could be interesting. Non-castable with dash is fun. Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot of ideas for this. So I think that would be kind of a cool theme to have in the case files. I think, though, for this one, if you can't just cycle it normally, I think the splice cost needs to go down pretty significantly. I mean, it could honestly go down to just blue. But at that point, this is still just a card that cycles itself. Is that even good? It's like worse than pay blue, draw a card at instant speed. Isn't it? Because I guess with instant and sorcery splice, the upside is that you can use it over and over again. But with enchantments, you can't. Because it's just going to... No, wait. Hold on. I'm not thinking this through. For some reason, I was thinking when you play the creature with the splice, this is also going to enter the battlefield. No, this is repeatable draw. Each time you play a creature, you can splice this onto it. So never mind. It does need to be expensive, so you can't just keep drawing real cheaply. All right. Cyber5 suggests red-white artifact aggro versus white-blue artifact control potentially. Yeah, so all three colors just care about artifacts. But just, you know, the deck style is different, which means you'll use them differently. That's actually pretty reasonable. I still do think that the weapon tokens would probably be the most thematically appropriate archetype for this set. Better to have a theme that is appropriate, if a bit common, rather than a new theme that doesn't mesh with the set at all. Okay, for mana costing, Gunblade says Evermind is 1 and a blue for draw a card. So you think this could be 1 and a blue? I guess for limited, I think this might be slightly more powerful in that in limited, you're going to be playing creatures a lot more often than instants and sorceries anyway. But I guess it does slow you down by 2 mana to be able to play it. So maybe 2 is fine. Evermind also requires Arcane. Oh, so there is a much smaller subset of cards you can play it on as well. Oops. Maybe 2? Split the difference? What about a splice onto mutant card? Well, that would be interesting. It could, like, thematically work because the mutants, you know, are having weird stuff going on. So that could be cool. It would make this effect a lot narrower, though. Mike Moose says, I hate the idea of having an entire archetype be a token type. It's so limited and not really that interesting. It's just a worse equipment theme. I imagine how Wizards would do it would be to have red-white simply be an equipment theme, but there would be some number of cards that make weapon tokens. So I don't think that mostly they would care about weapons specifically, just that there would be some cards that make weapons so that, you know, like creatures that come in with weapon tokens so that you, like, can increase your density of both in the deck. Because the problem with those archetypes in limited is that it's hard to both hit creatures and equipment. So I don't know that we necessarily have to care about the token type, just that we offer the token type as some of the equipment for the theme. Splice onto creature and splice onto mutant for cheaper. Technically, I think it needs to say, like, mutant creature, because there are tribal instants and sorceries, and you could splice this onto that, and then the effect wouldn't do anything because those spells aren't entering the battlefield. That could be confusing. I don't hate that. It's interesting. Like, it's cleaner without. But this turns all of your mutants into draw an extra card for 1 mana. That's really good. It's a fair point, I'd say, more so an archetype caring about a creature being equipped at all rather than how powerful the equipment is. Maybe at least having a few effects that you can sacrifice the tokens to for some kind of stronger payoff. Defiant Mars is also in favor of checking your weapons at the enemy for effects. Yeah, I mean, this would get ridiculously powerful in multiples. Oh man, does it show both cursors? That's interesting. Ooh. So this will get, like, if you have 2 or even, God forbid, 3 of these in a heavy mutant deck, that's going to be ridiculous. So, obviously we can play test it and see how it goes, but seems really good. Doing it as an equipment theme with weapons in the set makes sense, but in the Discord, a lot of it was just hate on equipment theme since it's been done before. Doing the weapon tokens themselves as the theme just isn't great. Back onto the topic at hand, you probably won't get 2 if they're only in the case files. I mean, maybe. I've definitely done Strixhaven drafts where I saw the same Mystical Archive card twice. So, I don't know. Okay. I think I agree with Cyber5 that maybe spell slinging as the archetype doesn't make much thematic sense in the set or even mechanical sense. So we could go back to artifacts. I also agree with Mechmoose that caring specifically about weapon tokens feels a bit awkward. So I think we can do it as an artifact or an equipment theme, whichever one we want to do, and just have some more weapon tokens in the set. Okay, so let's do that. Let's probably get rid of this for now. If we're just going to be working on, we should start by working on red-white. Okay. So, I think, do we want to do just caring about artifacts and being a more aggressive version of the artifacts deck, whereas white-blue is more controlling? Or do we want to do equipment specifically? Either way, we can have weapon tokens. Either way, I think it might make sense if the Signpost Uncommon made weapon tokens. I mean, we could do something like this. I know I've at least done red-white artifact creature tribal theme for my set. Not sure if that would necessarily be applicable here. We do have some artifact creatures. They are our main 1/1 tokens. I think it could definitely work. The question is, do we want to have like other creatures in the set be artifact creatures? Do we want to like widen in world how many, automatons there are running around. Because currently they're flavored as just being like lab assistant little, homunculus type things. Off topic quickly, I also had an idea for a card. Do we have a 1 or 2 mana graveyard hate spell? Was thinking something along the lines of exile target card in a graveyard. If it's a creature card, you get a research and draw a card. Was thinking of having it be an autopsy for thematic purposes. I don't think we have that. Let's see. Let's go to our black commons. Do we have something that exiles a card from a graveyard? Okay. Yawning Horror is currently what we have that does that. It's 5 mana to exile target player's graveyard and get 2 2/1s. I do like the idea of an autopsy type card. That could also potentially fit in white. Nitpick, but Yawning Horror sounds like a creature, not a sorcery. Hello, Flynn. How's it going? Yeah, if you want to suggest an alternate name, you can. Honestly, I'm just trying to come up with names that kind of fit so that we can call them things right now. And then once we finish the set, we can sort of go back through, reflavor everything, rename everything, put on flavor text, basically put all of the flavoring on it. So I'm really not too worried about names during this portion of design. But I'm also, willing to change things if people have better suggestions. Yeah, in my mind, this was not like horror as in a horror, the noun, the creature, more the idea of horror, Maybe naming it Below the Streets. I kind of like that, flavoring it as like in the sewers. What's coming from below? Horror in the sewer. Sewer's good. As far as I know, we do not have a card flavored as a mole person. So, if we want to do an autopsy, that could also potentially be white. Both, doctors, healers can be white, and exiling cards from graveyards can be as well. So that's one option. Alternatively, we can change this card. We could just remove this part. Maybe make it a 4-drop that makes 2 2/1s. And then have a cantrip that exiles a card from a graveyard as well. In which case, we would need to look for something to cut. Or alligators, I guess, are more common for you Americans. Did I miss something? Oh, makes giant crocodile tokens. Yeah, got it. Mole person card seems like it could fit into the side set. Yeah. I'm open to that idea. I'm not really sure how I would make that card. Mole person just being like a person who lives underground. All right. Let's bring this back. No. Just green. Okay, let's see. So Flynn suggests something with phasing, kind of like a Pokemon's dig ability. That could be interesting. I do kind of like the idea of creating a new mechanic called Submerge, because I think that would be great for the case files, is not just have old mechanics coming back in new ways, but have completely new mechanics that are just like here for some reason, which I guess is very future sighty, but whatever. What does the tunneling affect dwarves used to have work again? I think that was before my time. I'm not sure what ability you might be talking about there. Or maybe a creature that mills on enter the battlefield, then returns an undercover card from your graveyard to your hand if it's for the main set. That could be interesting. Dwarves used to just destroy walls, I think. I mean, we don't even have to make it a new mechanic. It could just be 2 mole person. Gains non-basic land walk until end of turn. Diggy diggy hole. Oh yeah, I know that one. I guess the problem is this won't do too much in limited. There's not terribly many non-basic lands that could be played. Diggy diggy mole. But of course, it's not a mole, it's a human. Do we have a common non-basic cycle? No. No, we do not. So while I like the idea behind this ability, I don't think it's really gonna do much in the set. Our lands are Warped Landscape, our 5 Garth lands, potentially Maze of Ozb, and potentially a vehicle land. I think that's supposed to go in the case files, but it's here for now. How about a case file with Hedronize? Now that AFR has come out, Hedronize is a thing. Or at least has potential to be a thing. The thing about Hedronize is that it's very Zendikar flavored. So I'm not sure how it would feel to put a Zendikar ability on a card on this plane. Because I think, for the most part, we still want these creatures to make sense on this plane and not obviously be from somewhere else. Question, how bad do manlands have to be integratable as uncommons? There have been a couple uncommons. There's like a one that you can pay 6 to permanently turn into a 4/2, I think. What does Hedronize mean? Hedronize was a mechanic that they play tested for Battle for Zendikar that was basically roll an 8-sided die and do one of 8 things based on what it landed on. Because, 8-sided dies are like, what are they, octahedrons? Anyhow, they look like the hedrons from Zendikar. So the idea was you're basically rolling a hedron to see what it does. Or that's my understanding of it. It's been a while, so if I got it wrong, feel free to correct me. Oh. I do think that Mole Person makes sense in the base set. Because it's not necessarily something supernatural. I mean, it could be if we wanted to make it such, but I think it could just be somebody who's paranoid and living underground. And that's not something that the organization would necessarily document or make a case file about. So I think it makes sense. He's just a freak. It's okay to say that if you're not saying it about a real person. Well, let's see. Do we have any commons who could be flavorfully mole people? Not really anything good at common. I guess potentially like flavor this one as a mole person. There's nothing that really fits super well. Ideas. Mole person. There. We'll put it there for now. We can always figure something out later. Could rechange that life gain design potentially, at least. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. So for now, I think I'm going to go back to the red-white weapons theme. If somebody has a specific idea for what they think the mole in the main set should be, feel free to put that in the chat. But I think I'm moving on now. Okay, we can get rid of this. Please put the L in the type line. It's killing me. What, did I just put Mo? Which card was that I was on? Champion of land. Oh, on the other one. Elemental. Oh, okay. I did not even notice that. Okay, so for our equipment signpost, for the red-white theme, it could be half weapon tokens, half artifact sacrifice, maybe. Those two do work well together. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the theme itself could just be like sacrifice artifacts for things. And then, of course, we have weapons that can be used to equip your creatures or can be sacrificed to their abilities. And then we also have the 1/1s that can be sacrificed to abilities. So maybe just weapon sacrifice? Or sorry, artifact sacrifice. No, no vehicles, no fortifications. Please, for the love of heaven. Okay, I guess we could potentially do a vehicle, but it's not going to be like a major theme of the set. Okay, what do we think of this? I don't know design-wise, or developmental-wise, like how powerful it is. But is it interesting? Slash, would it be worth playing in the red-white theme? Also, I suppose another thing, I think there were still some cards from last week I made that you also didn't get to as well if you need the inspiration. Should I share them again if need be? I will just go back to them in Discord if I need to, because they're not too far back. Yeah, I see them now. Yeah, I didn't get to them because it seemed like we weren't going to go with that theme, but now it seems like we might, so I might get to them now. I think you'll need a rare or something that just attaches all equipment to it on ETB. Okay. Cool. Actually, let's make it white. Something like this. I like white because white can also manipulate auras. And so this way, even though we don't really have much of an aura theme in this set, it would give it some wider utility, potentially in a commander deck or standard format or something. So it could be like a creature that comes in, equips whatever the heck it wants to it. This could probably be uncommon if you don't add anything else to it. Well, you know me. Defiant Mars says, I don't know how to evaluate that red-white signpost. It's like an expensive fire-breathing X spell, but you have artifact synergies and can move around the stat post. Yeah, I agree. It's really hard to tell if it's good or not, because honestly, it's really all context dependent. Are weapons good in the set? I don't know. I at least think that it is an interesting signpost uncommon, and so that might be good enough to be worth having it in the slot for now. Cyber5 says, maybe a creature that gives you the option to sacrifice an artifact to make 2 weapon tokens. Bring the themes together. Okay. Let's see. No, not every card needs to work with the demon. Okay. I mean, we could just make it tiny and do pretty much nothing by itself. Except, I guess it could have a bunch of abilities. Although we do kind of already have that card in the case files. So maybe it doesn't need a bunch of abilities. We already have a first striker, I think. Double striker, yeah. So that makes me think of the vehicle from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What was it called? The Shellraiser? I cannot help you there. I have never seen anything TMNT. I mean, it could just be like a flyer. Or maybe for the red-white archetype, we could have some cards themed around sacrificing artifacts to reforge them into better forms. If we're going with artifacts, you can make this an artifact creature, something like Shambling Weapon Rack or something. That would be funny. Does it make sense then to also grab auras? I think it would be thematic to have an artifact creature that attracts artifacts to it somehow. Magnetic. Automaton. Android. Robot. Can we reprint Fumble? What's that? Like gain control of target equipment? Oh, hold on. I have a place to look for this. Bounce a creature, gain control of all auras and equipment attached to it, then attach them to another creature. Kind of like the flavor of something confiscating the weapons even more. Well, who doesn't like Battle Bond? Magnetic Confiscator. How about 2 for the price of 1? Do we have a fling variant? I think that would be appropriate for part of the red-white theme. I agree. There should be a fling. Did I make a fling? I'm not sure that I did. That's not Yeah, I wasn't thinking about it. I saw that it was a joke when I put it on, but I wasn't thinking about the fact that it doesn't actually work. Okay. Fling is a good idea. Vigilance. Yeah, that works. It also doesn't have to be a 1/1 for 1. That's just what I ended up throwing on there. Obviously, if you play this on turn 1, it could be when it enters the battlefield or attacks, but then that's kind of a lot like Armory Automaton. Somebody did suggest... I want this with 1 billion weapon tokens and that one weapon that gives haste. You're not big on giving this a built-in fling? Yeah, it was just an idea. I'm thinking we need to give it something else to distinguish it. I'm also thinking that stealing auras is not in flavor anymore. Number of target equipment to it. Because obviously if you play this on 1, it's like kind of bad. If you play it later, it could be good, but it's got to be really built around. So while the ability is like rare feeling because it's special, it's not necessarily very like great. Maybe equip a weapon you control when it enters the battlefield or attacks, or maybe even blocks. Enters the battlefield, attacks, or blocks. You may attach target equipment to it. Is it intentional that this can attach equipment you don't control, give it flash, and it confiscates equipment from your opponents when they swing? That's kind of cool. It was intentional that you could steal your opponent's stuff, yes. Steal. I mean, they can re-equip on their own turn. Okay, so we could remove Vigilance, give it Flash, and then go back to just any number of equipment. N, attach target equipment to card name. Control of the equipment doesn't change. Okay, so you're saying it would cost mana to steal stuff, but then you would be able to steal it at will. Okay. Sorcerers is suggesting, like, I don't know how much mana. Although... Yes, Armory Automaton is definitely something that I had in mind when I was thinking about this card. I think giving it just like... The thing about making it cost mana to steal stuff is that part of the idea behind this is that you're able to equip your weapons. I guess do they equip for free or for 1? I forget. I think it's 1. Yeah, for 1. So part of the idea was that you would get to equip them all for, like, cheap. Value X. Now, Sorcerers is suggesting that we put sorcery speed on this, which, if we do, that sort of defeats the purpose of Flash, so we would remove that. I guess this would still let you equip all of your weapons to it for free. Because they have mana value 0. Yeah, you're right. It would also let you steal your opponent's weapons for free. Okay, so then we would definitely want to have some like actual equipment spells in the set with an equip cost much higher than their mana value, so that you can feel like you got away with something when you play this card with them. Really gross with Colossus Hammer. Yeah, there's several cards. I got a mono white equipment deck right here for Commander. There's several cards that are busted with the Colossus Hammer. It's not hard. The hammer is the problem, but I love it so much. Snap-on equipments tend to have an equip cost bigger than their mana value. That's a good point. First equip is free. I'm also thinking for the signpost, maybe it can be a fixed amount of mana for a spell that makes either a number of construct tokens or the same amount of weapon tokens, maybe called mass production. That's a cool idea, Cyber 5. Flynn says, but it loses flying, it's totally fair. I mean, being less evasive is definitely a huge deal, but when I put it on my double strike trampler, also, oh yeah, it's I also have a that equipment from original Innistrad that doubles damage to and from the equipped creature. So it's actually like quadruple strike. Okay. Yeah, so cool. I think this one is a pretty good design that we have here. Should be like a construct. And then heading back to the red-white one. Darn it. Get rid of that. We're done with that. Nope, not that one. Here we go. Mass production. Not to be confused with mechanized production from Ether Revolt. Which is that card. Yeah, my equipment deck is based around Resolute Strike. The card is bonkers good. I don't think I know that one. Oh, gotcha. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's a warrior, you may attach an equipment you control to it. Sweet. Is that like a standard deck? Weapons of mass production. That's funny. Choose one. Create 3 1/1 colorless artifacts. Nope. Artifact, creature, construct. Artifact, creature tokens, or create 3 weapon tokens. It doesn't have to be 3. 3 is just what I was thinking. And then that would probably be more of a sorcery speed idea. It was standard, turned into modern after I kept adding good equipment to it. Gotcha. Okay, so maybe it could be 1 red-white to make 3 construct/weapons. Maybe a similar ability being on a few cards, sort of like Fabricate as suggested before. Interesting. That could be cool. Maybe we could also see a lord for both artifact creatures and equipped creatures. I like that. Sort of like how Depala was a lord for both vehicles and dwarves. Or was it pilots and dwarves? Dwarves and vehicles, yep. Okay. That's pretty cool. Does this seem decent at 3 mana? Yeah, I think so. Sorcery speed, 3/1/1s for 3 is fine. Especially if you know how to use them. And then weapons, 3 weapons for... That's harder to evaluate power-wise. But I would hazard a guess that it's probably okay. That could be the angle we go for in the set, being artifact creatures and equipped augmented creatures. Yeah, I mean, we could find some like art that flavors the weapon tokens as different types of augments, like, I don't know, Robo Arm or, you know, like Scouter Glass or whatever. Okay, that seems good. So, Lord. Currently, our red-white Lord is... Well, Cyber5 submitted this card, Joe Chen. Which is ETB, create a weapon token equipped to it. So it's like a 4/3 for 3. Whenever you attack with 3 or more equipped creatures for the first time each turn, untap all equipped creatures you control, and there's an additional combat phase after this. So this is a equipped creatures lord. If we want to do, we could just change it to equipped creatures and artifact creatures. 3 weapon token seems real good if you have an effect that attaches them all cheaply or free. Yeah, like being able to move 3 power around on whatever creature you want, and then whenever that creature dies, you just put them all on something else. Like, equipment can be quite strong and limited, as long as the equipped cost isn't too high. Creatures and artifact creatures you control. I should ask too, do you want any particular number of legends in the set? No particular number. Really whatever. Like, legendaries are cool. So, you know, if something makes sense as a legend, would make an interesting commander, we can make it legendary. Otherwise, I have no particular plans. I think we've talked about a cycle at uncommon, a cycle at rare, and a cycle at mythic. That's a lot. I don't think I want that many, because that's not even including the gold ones. But yeah, just whatever we want to do. Did I miss the alternate cost cycle? No, we haven't ended up doing that yet, Wind. There's been a lot of stuff suggested to do, so we have not gotten to that yet. Extra combat step on attacking with 3 artifact creatures seems way too easy for a 3-drop legendary, especially when they're the main 1/1 token. Fair enough. Right, so attacking with any number, like any number of equipped creatures and artifact creatures, not equal, you know? It's much easier to attack with that many artifact creatures than it is to equip that many equipment. Pretty much no matter what the number is. Unless it's like 1, I guess, since he brings his own equipment with it. Well, we've talked about sacrificing artifacts. So it could be like whenever... Whenever card name attacks for the first time each turn, you may sacrifice 3 artifacts. If you do, untap all just creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So this combines artifacts, the creature tokens and the weapon tokens or other equipment that you have. You just need to get 3 total, but you'll lose them. Yeah, no, you're right, Mechmoose. That is definitely not equal. So, what if you make it that you can sacrifice an equipment on a creature to make it attack again? So basically, it can attack again, but weaker. Interesting. So it would turn all of your equipment into extra combat steps specifically for the creature it's on. Wording would be awkward, yes, because you can't have them each have their own combat steps. So you'd have to have one combat step where all the creatures from which you sacrificed equipment untap. What you have now would probably be a good way to use weapon tokens and stuff as a resource. Yeah, so there's this, or potentially what Flynn is suggesting is you may sacrifice any number of equipment attached to creatures you control. For each equipment sacrificed this way, no. If you sacrificed any equipment this way, after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Untap all creatures that had an attached equipment sacrificed this way. That is kind of messy. This is probably not the optimal way, but it's a start. It's an interesting idea. It is way too wordy right now, so this one makes some more sense just from a simplicity standpoint. Defiant Mars says, so we're probably going to want some repeatable weapon producer then. Yeah. There could be... We could make like an uncommon red or white card that pumps out weapon tokens. Okay, I know for a suggestion on Legends for this set, I know I still like the idea of a cycle of mythics in each color for the CEOs/leaders of each branch of the organization. Maybe, for example, the blue leader could maybe be something like a frozen head in a jar. Could be quite flavorful there. It's a good idea. Yeah, just like I said, we have a lot of legends right now. We've talked about an uncommon cycle. Let's see. Because at uncommon we have Cole and Barry Grismore. And then at rare we have Tamrin, Winks, the Face Taker. And then at mythic we already have Osb. I guess this is a Planeswalker. So, yeah. I think that's a fine idea. I just want to make sure that we're not just like overloading on legends, because I think that the more there are in the set, the less special each one feels. Like, I love legendary creatures, but I do want to be a little bit judicious with how we use them. So maybe we should do a stream next week where we focus on legendary creatures. I'm going to write that down. Figure out what our deal is with them. Like kind of what the story with the characters is, who's important, who needs cards, what colors, and what rarities. We need to do the art one day, I guess. Yeah, I figure that's probably going to be like one of the last things we do. Just because why find art when the concept behind the card could change? Now that we have a prominent token, I demand Anointed Procession reprint as is customary for every token set. It hasn't been reprinted at all, to my knowledge, since Amonkhet. I mean, it should be, though. It's probably very expensive by now. Only $31. Okay, we'll settle for doubling season. Fair enough. You know what? You've made reasonable demands of me. Now, I don't think doubling season ever gets reprinted into standard now, thanks to Planeswalkers being a thing. All right. I just tried to come up with something, but I had to celebrate 3 birthdays before I finished writing it, so I never finished. Okay. I think Flynn is talking about the red-white card that he suggested wording for, that I took a stab at, and it was really long. What about an Anointed Procession that only hits artifact tokens? Not a bad idea. We do have 2 types of artifact tokens. Well, we actually have many types of artifact tokens in this set. So it could be a cool build around, even if you're not going for the main like red-white theme. Because at the very end of the set, we have the one that makes the creature tokens, the clue tokens, treasure tokens, weapon tokens, and food tokens. Gonna pop out for a bit to get dinner. Okay, sorcerers, see you later. Wind is asking if we can work on the alternate cost cycle. We can get to working on the alternate cost cycle tonight. Right now, we're kind of on a roll with the artifact theme, and I want to make sure that we really get that figured out. So I want to make sure that we take care of all the suggestions for that before we move on, but we will get to the alternate cost cycle. Sagas also make doubling season unlikely. That's another one I hadn't thought of. That's a good point. Okay, so we're talking about an Anointed Procession for specifically artifact tokens. So what is it? Just like Anointed Procession, but 3 mana? Rare enchantment. Do we put artifact hate in any color? Yeah, I mean, red, white, and green tend to be the artifact hate colors. Mostly red, green, but some white as well often. I think making it a non-permanent spell would probably help control the power level. So you're saying like until end of turn? Defiant Mars? We could also have exile card name. Reprint Vandal Blast. I mean, a destroy all artifacts spell would not be bad. I'd tie this to a creature rather than an enchantment. Okay. Legendary leader of the 1/1 constructs. Yeah, okay. Or something like this. Gotcha. Yep. Okay. Cyber5 pointed out Second Harvest, right? That's what I just looked at. So, yeah, I guess how do you want to do it? Do you want to do it Second Harvest style, or like an Anointed Procession for artifact tokens on a creature? I guess I feel like if we're doing it on a creature, we kind of already have a very similar theme card, which is this. Like, obviously it doesn't do the same thing, but it's like a white rare creature for the artifact theme. So it feels a bit redundant. Not that you can't have two. I mean, like, this guy's a double striker. Weapons go on him great. When suggests a spell that creates an emblem and exiles itself and all other cards with the same name from your library, hand, and graveyard. I'm not opposed to the idea of a case file spell making an emblem, like not in a planeswalker way. I do think the second half is a bit weird. Why does it exile itself and all other cards with the same name? Because, I mean, if you've cast the first one, it should have gotten all those from your deck already. So there shouldn't really be any in your library, hand, or graveyard. I guess you're just saying so that you can only get one of that emblem. Okay. I think I understand the point now. Okay, not a bad suggestion. Do you want to try and like take a stab at what that card would look like, and then maybe either share it in the Discord or just like in text on chat here? Don't really think that would be a design we should really use. Getting easy emblems like that shouldn't be a thing in Magic. I mean, I agree. I do think it really depends on what the emblem does, how expensive the spell is to cast. If we put other conditions on the card that can make it more balanced. I feel like there's a lot of knobs that we can change that would make it okay. And we are trying to kind of push design in the case files. So we could introduce legendary emblems that would actively punish you for drawing the extra copies too. That's cool. I wonder if the legendary rule would apply to emblems. Are they in the command zone? Does the legendary rule apply there or just on the battlefield? Everyone remembers how much that Chandra... Yes, that Chandra was, oh boy, so difficult to beat. But I don't know. I like trying to push design, make interesting cards. Legendary only applies in play, yeah. But hear me out. World emblems. So an emblem that affects everyone. But would they work like world enchantments in that you can only have one at a time? So whenever another emblem comes out, the old ones go away? That does sound super cool. That actually sounds like a super cool idea for another set. Like something that you would more build around that effect. I'm not saying that we can't do it here. I am saying that it sounds like something I would really want to build around. Not sure how much things would really work out. It would basically just work like an enchantment that ignores the rules of being removed. Yeah. We could have that as a spoiler for the next set we make. Yeah, I mean, definitely, guys, feel free to, as we come up with ideas, jot them down for suggestions for our next set. I have no idea how much longer this one is going to take to complete, so I can't really give you a timeline. But once it is complete, I yeah, I'll plan to keep making sets. I mean, that circus one that we talked about, that Sorcerer suggested, sounds really fun. I might be interested in doing that, but we just make the next War of the Spark 50 Planeswalkers. I mean, that's an option. Okay, so we were working on our second harvest style effect. I guess if we just want to do second harvest, we could for each artifact token you control, create a token that's a copy of that permanent. Yeah. We don't want it just equipment wind, because our 1/1 tokens for the set are artifacts. It would only take 10 years with our track record of designing blue-black planeswalkers. Yeah. I'm going to have to come up with some method for the next set to make planeswalkers not such a pain. I have some ideas, but they have, for this set and the previous one we made, it was just so much hassle. It was not worth it. I would have much preferred to just make them all myself. Not to be like, I can do it better than you, but just like, if I do it, it's going to be at least done quickly, and I don't have to fight over it with everybody for a while. So, not that I don't want everyone else to get their input. It's just, it's hard because everybody wants their say, and these are like the cool characters that need to be perfect. And planeswalkers are just hard to design well in general. Maybe people can only submit one ability at a time, and we can mix and match from there. Yeah, I'm thinking something along the lines of, before the stream, we have people submit their designs in Discord. I pick like the best 10 designs or whatever. And then during stream, we vote on, or I guess even beforehand, we vote on which designs we like best. Just like the concept of here's what the Planeswalker does. And then once we narrow down the 4 or 5 or however many planeswalkers we want, we can redesign those, from the bottom up. But we at least have a concept of here's the basic identity behind this card. Here's what it's trying to do. And then, yeah, also putting a limit just on how much can be submitted at once. I need both more water and to use the bathroom, so I'll be right back. All right. I have a simple rule for planeswalkers. Abilities should leave a planeswalker at 1 or 2 loyalty. Sorry, minus abilities should leave a planeswalker at 1 or 2 loyalty max without protection. If they make their own protection, they should go to 1 or even 0. That tends to make planeswalkers that don't feel super unfair to fight. Yeah, that's another big thing, is also they need to be good, but also removable. You know, yes, they're mythic, but you know, in limited, there's only so many bombs that, like, you can only have so many bombs that are completely unbeatable. So, honestly, I would like to have 0 completely unbeatable bombs, but you definitely want to make it possible to beat anything. So, I think that seems like a decent rule, Flynn. I probably haven't designed enough planeswalkers to come up with a rule, but feeling it out tends to leave me probably in about the same place most of the time. All right, Wynn suggests oldbookillustrations.com as a great source for copyright-free art. Let's take a look. Let's see. Oldbookillustrations.com. Let's just sort of take a look at what they got. Okay, so it seems to be pretty much all black and white. Oh. Oh, there's some colored ones. A lot of them are black and white, but I guess that's just because a lot of books only print in black and white. So a lot of book illustrations are, by default, black and white. So definitely seems like a decent resource. I probably want to minimize the amount of black and white art in my cards, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't use some of these. So that's a good suggestion. Thank you. I should ask what you also think about the next set idea that I mentioned before, too. Sure, Cyber5. I'm sorry, I must have missed it. What idea was that? Flynn, yes. I also usually use DeviantArt and ArtStation. That tends to be, like, I feel like the main place for people to put fantasy art. All right, Cyber5 says, I was thinking of a bottom-up set based around draft archetypes in unusual colors. That one we can have Boros Spellslinger in. Gotcha. I mean, I like the idea behind that. I like the idea of switching it up. I do get really excited whenever they come up with something new, like Lorehold in Strixhaven, which is just very different red-white. ArtStation is a godsend until you accidentally find actual MTG art. Yeah, fortunately, I personally can almost always tell when it is magic art. I think usually just because it's art that I've seen before. Because I think pretty much everything on ArtStation is recent, so I've at least seen it at some point. All right, Defiant Mars says, keeping the ball rolling on the red-white archetype, I'm thinking about getting that throw your weapons idea in red. Can servos and constructs be classified as weapons? You mean like, can we give them the weapon subtype? Because if so, I don't think that makes sense, but I might just be misunderstanding the question. I mean, if you throw it hard enough. I'm thinking about something like that fling variant that might also be able to fling weapons. Yeah, so I'm thinking we might do it more like Mirrodin red-white, where they have a bunch of stuff that can just like sacrifice artifacts for effects. Like, I feel like Ferivore is a good example of that, though I could be wrong. Yeah, stuff like Ferivore. Just sacrifice an artifact to give bonus power for the turn. Maybe a creature that can sacrifice an equipment attached to it to deal damage equal to its power. That's not a bad idea intrinsically, Cyber 5. I worry it'll get confusing, because if you're sacrificing something that's pumping the creature's power, then people are left to ask, well, how much damage is this actually dealing? Is it the pre-sacrifice power or the post-sacrifice power? And I'm pretty sure that the answer is after the weapon's been sacrificed. Whatever power is left over is what's actually being dealt, because by the time the ability resolves, it no longer has that power boost. So it's a good idea. It would just be like there would be some kinks we need to work through. Wow. We have like made all of them? All the red uncommons? Could make a weapon that doesn't give power, like how armor has been done. Yeah, but the thing is, if it's the creature that has to sacrifice any equipment attached to it, you know, most equipment are going to give power, at least like at common and limited sets. A lot of people do that. Or a lot of equipment will do that. So I'm not sure if that would actually work. I think it would have to tap, so you can only do this once per turn. Sacrifice any equipment for protection. Oh, Flynn, you're saying I was thinking of an equipment that you can sack to deal power equal to the creature that it's attached to. Okay, that's a decent idea. Yeah, I like this idea, Cyber5. What if we do a mirror where the red one sacrifices your artifacts for dealing damage and your white one sacrifices it for like protecting itself? Now, do we want to have it just be equipment or just any artifact? Sack for protection, now all I can think of is a Curie. The core Lineslinger? I forget exactly what she does. Must be thinking of this one. You may unattach an equipment from a creature you control to tap that creature, and it gains indestructible until end of turn. Okay, that's cool. Maybe we could have it be just as simple as this. Pinger creatures tend to come as 1/1s for 3 without having to sacrifice an artifact. So we could like cheapen it to just be like a 1/1 for 1, or we could give it better stats. Yeah, a brutally underutilized ability. Oh, sacking for protection. It was insane in Standard. Yeah, I haven't really played Standard anytime recently. I guess because I much prefer playing it in person than on Arena, and I just haven't had anyone to play with for obvious reasons. Ping for 1, sacrifice an artifact to untap. Mechmoose says sarcastically, I'm guessing because that may be overpowered. probably overpowered. What about my idea on the ability? The white one for protection? Or sacking an artifact with an addition if it's an equipment/weapon? Yeah, I guess I feel like giving it a bonus if it was an equipment that's being sacrificed feels a bit odd if we are trying to make this theme unified around both weapon tokens, or rather just equipment, artifacts, equipment in general, and the artifact creature tokens. I think it makes most sense to just like care about sacrificing artifacts. But I could be like, that might just be me. If other people feel differently, certainly feel free to voice that. So you could do something like that. If the sacrificed artifact was a token? Could be token. I feel like if you're sacrificing a token to the ability, you're already getting a bonus, which is you didn't have to sacrifice a real card to activate it. Or it could just be an ability to unequip an equipment from it for something like a temporary stat buff ability like a Kiri. Yeah. Could just be an uncommon that pings equal to power, like that goblin that looks like a dog. So it could be like this, just a very aggressive card. It's not dealing damage, or at least not directly, but it's giving itself more power with which to deal damage. It still dies relatively easily, but it helps get in that damage and trades potentially up. And then Sword Swallower. And then like the white one could be Spike Shot Elder is the card you were thinking of. Thank you. That one does kind of look like a dog. Maybe sack for +1/+1 and flying. On the red one? For the white one. Okay. Yeah, now we could either make it like a true mirror, where it's also a 2-drop. It could be like a 2/2 for 2 that... whatever. If we want to truly mirror it, We could have it be like sacrifice an artifact. Card name gets +0/+2 and gains like indestructible until end of turn. Or, yeah, like Cyber5 is suggesting, we could make it something different. It's still like similar enough that you can tell that it goes together, but we could make it like 1 more mana, so it's not fighting for the same space on the curve in that deck. And then, yeah, some more aggressive ability if you want to be playing them in the same deck. So like +1/+1 and gains flying would help it. I mean, indestructible would help too, because that makes it hard to try and trade off with it. I guess this is a bad stat line for this. If we're trying to get aggressive, 3/2. I mean, this would be a 4/3 flyer for 3, but only every time you sacrifice an artifact. It would, of course, also be activate only once each turn. Now, I'm also thinking of the red-white signpost maybe being a blood artist for artifacts. I mean, red-white can do like pinging and equivalent life gain. So it can do, like mono black can do lightning helix in the same way. We could reverse engineer blood artist into red-white, which would be kind of cool. So we could either have this one also be a very aggressive different spot on the curve creature, or we could have it be a true mirror where it's like 2/2 for 2 and then it gets +2 toughness instead of +2 power. Which do you guys like better? Mekmu says it doesn't drain, it has lifelink and pings for 1 when an artifact is destroyed. That is very cool. Although, I will remind you, currently... No, where is it? Currently, this is our signpost uncommon. The one that lets you choose between 3 constructs and 3 weapons. So, do we like the sort of blood artist design more than that? What is the wording on blood artist? You can see this being a pure white card if needed. That's true. It sure could be. Okay. Actually, I didn't really need to end up copying most of this. Whoops. Card name deals 1 damage to any target. I think a lifelink card that also deals direct damage is very red-white. True, it sure is. Ugh. All right, so this would be like a 1/1 for 2. And of course, being a lifelinker means that it's a good target for putting weapons on. Probably want us to be target player, not any target. That's probably for the best. Deals 1 damage to target. Opponent is probably how they would template it nowadays, so that it's easier on Arena. Could probably even do a hybrid cost of sorts, something like that. Do we have it pushed 3-1 for 2 yet? I'm not sure. Let's see. Lead artist. Okay, so do we want to make mass production like a mono white card? Oh, this is the one that you were talking about making hybrid. I see what you're saying. I don't think we have really any space in the slot for hybrid cards, but it could probably be either red or white. Yeah. All right. Yep. Cool. I like the design, so if we want to keep it, I think the 1 white works. Yep, that probably makes sense. Cool. Oh, sorry. And then going back to the red-white signpost, Cyber5 is suggesting it could be a 2-2 for 3 or a 1-3 for 3. I think 1-3 makes sense, since equipment are going to raise its power to be more like a square stat creature. Do the red and white commons still work with the new archetypes? Probably not. For anything with 3 cost or higher, you can also do the returned past color thing with red/red-white, white as a cost. That's a good point. Okay, so yeah, Defy Mars, I'm pretty sure that our red and white commons do not work with this. How do we feel about target opponent versus each opponent? I love it. Good call. I just realized we were going to lose our thermal spring healer. Oh, yeah, we sure are. Just doesn't make sense if we're not spell slinging, right? No, Cyber5. You would not gain 3 life, because it doesn't say you gain that much life. Oh, it does. Well, because it's life link. I guess if you're playing a commander game, you would gain 3 life each time. Yeah, Cyber5, the 1 life is actually like pretty good in life gain decks, which, as I recall, have been pretty solid in standard the last couple years. So it's definitely like a lot different than Thermo Alchemist, but yeah, I forgot that since this is lifelink and not just and you gain 1 life, it might be better to just be target opponent, but okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess in Commander, This gets a real good. Probably not busted good if it's not hitting each opponent. Okay, so let's red flag any cards that do not work anymore because they were for either the graveyard or Spellslinger themes. That should have a comma. This one. Is sort of like a graveyard-centric one. Actually, I wonder if I search for archetype. Yes, cool. So I can put a note in here and then search for everything with that note. That's pretty sweet. Cool. So I'm going to do that then. There's one. Still technically fine. I think it probably needs to be revamped, but... Revitalize is no longer good if we're not doing like a Spellslinger life gain thing. Lightning Strike. Goodbye, Thermal Spring Healer. No, that one still works. That one gets cheaper for enchantments. Artifacts, I mean. Oh. You're right. My bad. I'm sorry. I got confused. Our Animate Dead is now back in full swing. Yeah, it sure is. Where is it? Yeah, here. It's a pretty good design. I like it. I mean, it's not an artifact you're wanting to sacrifice a lot. But that just means it's probably a bit better in white-blue than red-white. This one is about graveyards. This one like fills your graveyard. This is actually pretty bad, isn't it? Not sure. I think it needs to be changed anyway. This is about graveyards, which is sad because I really like the idea of active treason from your own graveyard. But such is life. This is one of my favorite designs in the whole set. Just destroy target colorless permanent for 3 and a red. Funnily enough, it cannot hit like a lot of the more recent artifacts, because they've been doing a lot more colored artifacts just in normal sets. But still, it hits artifacts and lands, which are the main things that this spell would normally hit. But it also does hit 2-drops. Well, I guess 3 drops. The 2/2s, the undercover ones. And Eldrazi. Oh boy, that is really good. I mean, in formats with Eldrazi, there's probably much better removal anyway. So, probably not a big deal. But with all the life gain taken away, the demon has gotten substantially worse. Now, hold on. Most of that life gain was only for yourself, not for the opponent. Or for target player, rather. So I don't think it's a big deal. This inadvertently does work. Kind of. Okay, that works. I never said Peru. The demon has gotten worse. Fair enough. Touche, Flynn. Yeah, definitely it's a bit of a... Where is it? Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a bend, but I think it's a really well-designed one. So I think the few cases where it's better than a red spell normally would be are rare enough and in powerful enough formats that this is no big deal. What about an aura that copies itself for each available target? Yes, Mars. Definitely fine for this set. Would they really print this? Unlikely, but I like it. I think it's a good design. Yeah, I mean, it's not great, but it can destroy lands or artifacts, and that's usually what you get at sorcery for 4 mana in red. And while that card is rarely particularly good, it gets a little bit more utility in this set with the colorless creatures, the undercover ones, and probably fine. Okay, make an instant or sorcery that makes a weapon attached to target creature, then reprint Zadahedron Grinder. Oh, okay. I promised... We've done quite a bit with the red-white equipment theme now. We've at least flagged which cards need to change. I think we should move on to... We talked about, for the case files, doing only alternate costs. Cycle of 5 cards that cannot be cast normally. So let's work on that because that's something Wind and Wave is really excited for. So, what about 1 red instant, destroy target artifact? If you controlled that equipment, draw a card. I think it's an interesting design, but I'm not sure how necessary it is. Because in that case, you're basically just making it a spell that can either destroy an artifact or cycle itself. Or if you control that artifact typo. Got it. Or maybe make it a looting. Yeah, it's an interesting concept. Have to do a bit of guarding, so I'm going to get off chat for a bit. Okay, Mars. Well, thanks for hanging out. Okay, so I'm gonna try not to get distracted with other stuff. We're talking about alternate casting costs, and I know Wind gave us a list earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Seems like it's too far back. So I will have to write it down manually. I know there was Dash, Emerge. We've already done Splice. Prowl. Oh yeah, Prowl for something that's non-rogue could be cool. Maybe one of the cards could be a trap with no mana cost. That's pretty cool. Okay, I was like, Menace. Madness. Target player wins the game with an overload cost. That's funny. It's 2 a.m. Give me a break. Fair enough. Okay, so then we just need to... I mean, that's 6 options. We only need 5. A Madness card with Menace. Miracle? Oh boy. That one's going to be hard. What if it gets in your hand? And you can't cast it? But I'll put it down. They'll give it cycling. It's a possibility. Overload on a creature is an awesome idea. It is. I don't think alternate casting cost as the only way to cast it makes sense for Overload, because instead you could have just printed each instead of target and put the Overload cost in the upper right corner. So I think Overload doesn't make sense here, but we could still do it as Overload on a creature. That would be cool. No, not for this, but card in general. Yep, makes sense. Okay, so let's just start with Dash. Let's see. Hold on. I need to drag the case files back on screen. Boop. Let's make a Dash creature where you have no mana cost in the upper right corner. You just have Dash. Could always get fancy and use Multi-Kicker, or use the new even better than Multi-Kicker from Innistrad. I'm not sure how we do that as an alternative cost, though, because that is just in addition to paying its normal cost. How about we make a $70 monkey? Karizev must be so proud. Okay, so red-green is the raid deck. So one of those makes the most sense for this. I'd say make it an Oran card, but he's not necessarily on this plane. That is unfortunate. I do really want to keep this to things that feel like they could be on this plane. Okay, let's take a look at which cards in the past have Dash. Oops. There are 22 of them. And of course, because it was the black-red mechanic, the Kolaghan mechanic in Dragons of Tarkir, it's mostly in that. And then they made one green one in Modern Horizons 1. Red feels a lot quicker and more Dash-like. Yes, it does. The thing about the case files is we are trying to mix it up a bit and change things. That doesn't necessarily mean future sight it or planar chaos it into a different color. We just want to try and use it in a new and interesting way. So how can we make Dash new and interesting? I feel like if it has to be a creature, it should be green, since that is the creature color. Yeah, okay, so we have several options. What about a green-red hybrid? Could be green-red hybrid. I'm not opposed to that. Okay, so ideas for it are... Flickers itself. to bypass its dash. Makes sense. Or could be like a blue-black ninja theme. Flash and can block an additional creature. Oh yeah, ninjutsu was one of our ideas as well. Oh no. Stupid notepad. Flash dash sounds cool, but doesn't really synergize at all. Here's my idea. What if it has, it could be whatever color. It has a dash cost. Actually, I guess it doesn't have a cost up here at all. Just be like default red. Or like color indicator red. And it has like a sacrifice itself ability for some effect. And so you can dash it out, attack with it, and then either return it to your hand or you can sacrifice it for an ability. It could even be like whatever its ability is, activate only as a sorcery so that you can't cheese it. It has to survive combat. Yeah, I could impulse draw or whatever. Sacrifice for shock, make it a 1/1. That's kind of cool. Make it Orzhov or Golgari cost so you can bring something in from the graveyard. Or make it a smelt. So like destroy target artifact. Okay, Flynn is suggesting like you could change it to be like black or yeah, you could go black. Oops. And then it could like what, reanimate something? Either the hand or the battlefield. I mean, it depends on how much it costs. If it's cheap, probably to your hand. Or maybe we could have a dash card with Storm, so all the copies bounce to your hand at end of turn. Oh, but then you can keep storming and getting copies back, but only as long as you can keep casting stuff. That's kind of a cool idea. I guess Storm would come second. If it's Dash and Storm, it's probably red. Maybe green. Okay. Gunblade is suggesting dash 3 by white, sacrifice card name, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, 2/2 flyer. That feels familiar for some reason. Yeah, Scooby-Doo gang pulls off the mask, and it was Karmic Guide all along. So what I was thinking was make the reanimate a tap ability, so you can do one or the other. Flavor text: my time has come. What about when it attacks? It lets you cast a copy of Persist. I feel like that gets really good if it's when it attacks, because It's dashing, so if they can't block it, and they don't have instant speed removal, they're not going to be able to get rid of your ability to just keep churning out advantage from your graveyard. So I guess we would just have to make it really hard to stay alive. You know, we can make it a fragile 1/1 or whatever. Okay, so we have lots of ideas for this. Storm, casts persist, reanimate, or tap, or no, reanimate or attack, one of the two. I think that's for something else. I don't think we necessarily are interested in that. Or maybe the black one can be a bestow creature with XY stats that gives enchanted creature -X, -Y. Interesting. We do have a bestow creature in this case files already, but we could definitely alter it to be this. It's not dash, but it's definitely an alternate cost. Yeah. It could definitely be a different concept. I'll put it on the list. Okay, so which idea of these, I guess, do people like most? Oh, I left out like sack for ability. Yeah, I mean, I guess my thing with copying persist is why put that specifically on a dash creature that can only be cast from your hand? Why not just put it on a normal creature? You know, we're building around the idea of you must dash this card into play. There's no way to cast it. So I feel like just having it be some random other ability doesn't really lend to its uniqueness. Maybe we could theme it as a swarm of fire ants. Storm of fire ants. Oh, 8, I guess is what we're at. Honestly, I would like Storm a lot more if it had an ETB. Okay, so I mean, this is kind of comparative to Chatterstorm, which is, get Storm, Storm, and it's 2 mana for a 1/1 squirrel. So this one is worse in that none of your tokens are going to stick around, but it's better in that you can keep using it for Storm. So, because it's gonna, you storm off with it, and then it returns to your hand, so you can use it on a future Storm turn. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I do like this design a lot. Make it an artifact creature, and you can sacrifice them all. Ooh. Yes? Yeah, this reminds me of the episode of the X-Files where these like robotic cockroaches are killing everybody. You will need the text card name as red, right? I think so. Or maybe just a color indicator. I think I've been having trouble putting the indicator on here. Because I think the place I'm supposed to click for it hasn't been working. Maybe it's under style. Color indicator dot. Yes. Okay, excellent. That might be a change with mainframe, which I've still only changed to recently, so good to know. All right, looks good. Oh, yeah, there was a recent chainer. Oh, Asmo. Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, cool. I am pretty happy with this design. Both because it uses old mechanics in a fun, interesting way, and it works with the set, being an artifact creature, and it just really feels like a paranormal thing that an organization that investigates paranormal things would want to investigate and catalog. So, pretty happy with that design. Cool. So that's our dash and our red card from the cycle. Done. So, our other suggestions are Prowl, Emerge, Trap, Bestow, Splice, Ninjutsu. I don't think I missed anything. I probably did. This is what I got. Suspend and Miracle. Yeah, I don't remember Suspend, but it's a decent suggestion, except I think they've done that one already. Miracle. Yeah. Sorry, I accidentally overwrote things on my notepad, and then it didn't remember what they were. I couldn't Control-Z it, so I lost the whole list. Madness and Unearth. Unearth is another interesting one, because if it gets stuck in your hand, there's nothing you can do with it. That and Miracle have that in common. Emerge could work for the white-black theme. Yeah. So I suggest we do a white one. Because Emerge has been in black, and I don't think there were any Emerge cards in white. Oh no, oh no. Every time. Hold on a minute. Style? No. No, I would not like a color indicator dot. Specific to this card? Yes, I would like a color indicator dot. I really think it should be default specific to the card. Okay. Because I choose what my default is for the whole set when I make the file. Anyhow, moving on. I wanted new card that's white. Inner D Angel? Yes, Small Child is still in the set. It was one of my original designs. Yeah, I'm not sure that it makes sense as a case file. So if we want to keep it, it may move to the main set. But it is in here. It's a cool design. I just don't think it fits as a case file thematically. So, yeah, just assuming that we want that ability. Seems fine. All right, so we're talking emerge here. We have no white cost. It has white. It has a color indicator. Nope, nope, not an X-frame. What? No. Stop it. Yes, okay. So, you know, whatever cost we want for this. Flavor text, we wouldn't let anyone as much as touch our dear child. Said the entire village in chorus. Okay, well that does make it a little creepier. I can put that in for now. Okay, so the idea of this is inner angel. The idea of this is you sacrifice a creature, it turns into something big and white. You must sacrifice a creature to cast this. Interestingly, this hasn't updated. It's still using converted mana cost. Whatever, I'll change that later. So I guess it doesn't have to be a creature, does it? Let's look at the emerge cards. I guess we can look up ones that were in Eldritch Moon. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a creature. We need some of that super creepy, true biblical angel art for this. That would be pretty cool. So what can you do with emerging a creature that you can't do otherwise? Or what's a new interesting way that we could use emerge? Yeah, could be Angel Horror. Maybe create X angel tokens where X is the amount of mana spent to cast it. Whoops, I'm on caps lock. Okay, so then you would be rewarded for sacrificing a cheaper creature with it, which is already something that you want to do. Or a token. Oh yeah, because a token has no mana value. This is hard. Has the abilities of the sacrificed creature. It's not bad. It could just have some memory issues. Maybe an effect based on the amount of colors the sacrificed creature had. So that this effectively drowns out color. Kind of like the Eldrazi. Kind of want to make it a chest burster from Alien. Well, we could make it black if that's better. I feel like a chest burster is definitely more black. I don't think we can flavor it. Emerge Wooburg. We have enough. We could make this a 6-card cycle. Like we have enough mechanics to do off of it. Oh, I guess the problem with that is there's not very much cost to reduce. I mean, we'd have to make it super expensive to have there be much cost to reduce. Because it's just reducing it by converted mana cost, so it's never going to reduce this. Yeah. So you always have to at least pay Wooburg, which is questionable. Oh, yeah, we could go offering instead. No, because offering isn't an alternate cost. It just reduces the mana cost up here. Yeah, just the problem with offering is it doesn't have an alternate cost. So, like... Fox offering, you just reduce the mana value there. So that's a good thought, but I don't think it is going to quite work. Or obviously, I mean, black is, would work pretty well for it. It's hard trying to come up with ideas for something different than what was already done here in Eldritch Moon. Okay. Well, if we're having too much trouble with Emerge, we can always move on to a different one. Create X copies of the creature equal to the power, toughness, mana cost of the sacrificed creature. That just feels like there's no way to cap that and make it fair, though, because if it's not to shoot it down, but okay, I mean that feels blue, so let's say it's blue, and we do like 6 mana cost or whatever. Create X copies of the sacrificed creature, however you want to word it, where X is that creature's mana value. So with this, you can sacrifice literally any creature. You could sacrifice something that you cheated out, like, I don't know, that 1/1 wizard for 8. Something that you cheat out, sacrifice it and get 8 copies of that creature. Actually, that's a bad example because it's not a good card. But you could cheat out any expensive good creature and then just get a bunch of like virtually free copies of it. X copies of the Emerge creature. Gotcha. Interesting. Have you done an Embalm member of this cycle? We have not. I will put that down on our suggestions list. Here. Let's just put alt cycle. And then where's the red one? Sort by name. These two are next to each other. There we go. All right. Escaped brain could be the flavor, like someone's brain just comes alive and walks away. Okay. Yeah, we could do that. We just definitely need to make sure that we're utilizing the emerge in a good way. This, okay. Mechmoose, now that I understand what you're saying, this is not a bad idea. Cockroaches under the skin, X-Files, yes. That basically ended up being the flavor of this card, yes. I do 2. Where's the stat line? 2/2. Yeah, although now that I understand it, I was thinking this makes X copies of the original creature, which would make it feel very blue. If it's just making a bunch of copies of itself, it could be white to be a bunch of tokens. It could be black. I guess green is the most tokeny color. I mean, I guess that's flavorfully actually similar to this, making a bunch of tokens of itself. Is the sacrificed creature's mana value. Maybe its power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control named card name. So like Snot. So if you were to sacrifice 4 of them, you would have 4 4/4s. 16 power and toughness for the cost of... Actually, no, because you can sacrifice even more than 4 here. I feel like Wind, that one gets out of control rather quickly. Not a bad suggestion. I just don't think it's going to work here. Do want to suggest for another card in the case file, maybe we could keyword Daunt. That's a solid idea. Yeah, I kind of like that. Mekmu says you can only sacrifice 1 creature. Yeah, but if you're creating multiple copies of this and its power and toughness is based on the number of copies of this you have, or cards named this that you have, then they're all going to get real big. Like I'm reading this as green, sacrifice a creature, create 4 plus 2/2s. Yeah. Cool. I mean, that was just my first thought, so it may be able to go up or down. I don't know, but... All right. I'm not completely sold on this design, in particular because it is very similar to this one. But it seems fine, so we can keep it for now. No longer Angel. Probably like... Frog. Make this an Eldrazi. How do the Storm copies work with Dash? Yeah, so based on what Storm says... Okay, so Dash comes first because it's an ability that lets you cast a spell for an alternate cost. So when you do, it gains haste, and it's returned from the battlefield to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So those are properties intrinsic to this card. I believe... And up until now, I was thinking that Storm just copies all of that. I hope it does. I mean, the idea is that the copies are considered dashed and will disappear, get bounced at the end of your turn. But I guess I'm thinking through making a clone of a creature on the board. If you clone something on board, you don't copy any other attributes that thing has other than what's printed on it. If it has +1/+1 counters, you don't copy that. If it has gained an ability from another source, you don't copy that. So I'm not sure if copying this would actually give it those things. It's the same as copying an X cost spell or a kicked spell. It copies those traits as well. Okay, because it's copying traits of the spell on the stack as opposed to copying a permanent externally. Okay. Storm copies it cast, so you would assume it would copy the properties it had while casting. Okay, that was my original thought. So, cool. That is definitely how we want the card to work. Cool. Yeah, definitely it'll cause some judge calls. We'll probably, if we finish the set and have it all ready to come out and, post it in the custom Magic community, we'll definitely need, a rules page on how specific cards work and whatnot. Wind says, I got to go for food. All right, well, thank you for hanging out, Wind. Thank you for the idea of the alternate cost cycle, because I think it's a pretty good addition to the case files. And it's giving us some really solid both flavor and mechanical designs. So have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Cool. What do we want to do next? Our list has Prowl, Trap, Bestow. We did Splice. Gotta go find Splice. I'd also add the non-existent mana costs can't be paid to all of these. Oh, those do have another mana cost. Yeah, I mean, that's on Evermind. I'm trying to think of a more recent example. Yeah, MacMoose, I'm trying to figure out if I do need that flavor text. I'm trying to think of a recent example. Oh, Asmo. We talked about it earlier. She does not have it. Of course, she has so much other text. Yeah, I mean, it's probably a gray area. I think when they first started making cards like that, they had to spell it out just because people had no idea how it would work. Now that they've done it a few times, people can just sort of figure it out, I think, for the most part. Ooh, Spectacle. There's a lot of alternate abilities, aren't there? Alternate casting abilities. Spectacle. Okay. So let's pick one and then pick a color for it. And if we, make multiples of a single color or something, we can always design stuff now and cut stuff later, so. I guess. Right. I do want to remove Suspend because they've done that. There's also Foretell, too. That's a good point. Is there a way to look up on Scryfall cards that have no mana cost? Like... Syntax. mana costs. Would mana value equal 0? I guess it would have to. It just would also show all other cards with a mana value of 0, of which there are a lot. Mana value is 0, but it's not a land. Its mana cost does not include 0. It's not a dungeon, a joke card, or a conspiracy. Okay, very solid. Thank you. Okay. So they've done a lot of suspend. They did one splice card. More suspend, 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 suspend. Okay, they're literally all either suspend or Evermind is splice, and Asmo is I mean, actually, if there were space on her type line, it would probably just be, it would have the black-red mana symbol in her mana cost box, and then just say on the type line, you can only cast Asmo if you've discarded a card this turn. So, I mean, she does technically do it, but she's only templated that way because she doesn't have space. So, really, the only abilities that they have done this for are Splice and Suspend. And I still like us doing Splice because we're doing Splice onto creature, which is different and pretty interesting. There we go. It's a bit more visible for you. Okay, so let's pick one ability to do here. Any suggestions? I mean, we have a lot of suggestions for what there is, but our Splice does not have to be part of the Manaless cycle, though. Originally, it wasn't. That is a good point. You're completely right. We could put the 1 and a blue back onto there. If we end up making enough of these designs and we want to keep an extra one, yeah. That's a good point. Okay. Changeling Prowl. I think Prowl is a good one. Let me look at cards that have Prowl. Block. Was it Shadowmoor? No, it was Lorwyn. Darn it, I got it wrong. There we go. Okay. Rogue, Fairy Rogue, Rogue. Yeah, okay. So Prowl is just an alternate cost. You may only play it for its Prowl cost if you've dealt combat damage to a player this turn with a card that shares one of this card's creature types. Yes. There was also one Prowl card in the Zendikar Commander decks. Oh, really? Guess sort by recent. This one. And that was new? Stink Drinker Bandit? I think it's a reprint. Oh, you may be talking about Enigma Thief. I'm sure you are. Sphinx or Rogue. Okay. So yeah. It has, even though it's kind of a weird mechanic, it does have a consistent method to its madness. Prowl. I guess Mutant makes the most sense. Oops. No, it's the cost. I put the cost here. So then this makes sense as green or blue. Yeah. Yeah, sorcerers, I don't think changeling makes sense because we don't really have changelings in our set. So you would never be able to cast this spell. Mutants is our one tribe, so I think that makes sense. Changeling is every creature type. So Prowl procs on anything. Yeah, I mean... I guess I see what you're saying. No. Changeling type isn't a thing. It would have to be... It would have to have changeling, and then we would format this to say with a creature. Okay, shapeshifter. But if we actually put shapeshifter as the type here, and then in the prowl cost, or like the prowl text box, you still have to deal damage with specifically a shapeshifter. We would have to change the wording on this to say with any creature. And at that point, I feel like, why are we prowling? I do kind of like the idea of doing mutants, because that is like... Now, maybe we're giving mutants too much stuff in the case files, and we can change that. But I feel like it makes sense here to have Prowl be different than just rogues. I don't know. Maybe this is just kind of doing the same thing that Prowl has done in the past. Flynn says, that's why I mentioned some kind of inherent Maskwood Nexus effect, and it affects the creature type that is prowled for on ETB. This is a convoluted way to make a creature that can only be cast if you've hit the opponent. Yeah, sorcerers, I guess. I feel like you could just do that with Spectacle, though. Which isn't quite the same, because it just means that they need to have lost life this turn. Which means you could deal them damage with any source and then cast your spell. I mean, I think that with this, we could do Prowl Mutants, and then we could still have it enter as, you know, your choice of one of two things. And those things could be different, like very weird, not quite lining up with what the mutants in the set do. Okay, hear me out. I have an idea. No? Normal. What if it's a modal double-faced card? With Prowl for one thing on one side and Prowl for a different thing on the other side. I don't know where I do modal dual face cards. Dual face type. Modal. There we go. Hi, frame developer note. That'll be hell to make a frame for. Will it? Can't we just use the MDFC frame? Can you pull up a mutant quickly? Yes. Do 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 do. Here's one of the mutants from our main set. Oh, I mean for making the case files look like case files. Oh, you're right. You're right. We can just not do it. Since you are the person making the case file frame, you can make the call on whether this is an okay design. So do our mutants currently actually work? Yes. I don't think they're mutants in play. They are. They enter as a mutant bird or a mutant turtle. Yeah, it's possible you just missed this. Okay. So, before we proceed with this idea, sorcerers, would you like to veto the dual-faced case file idea? If so, that's okay. Otherwise, I will proceed. Make it for now. I might veto down the road. Fair enough. Whoop. Okay, so it's a mutant on one side, and it's something completely different on the other side. Can we make a 6-sided card that comes in cube form? Okay, this would be blue, probably. Interesting. The prowl cost on the backside is still defaulting to mutant, to the creature type on the front side. That could make some sense, just human and mutant. We do have a lot of humans. Mutant. Okay. And then copy this, go away, paste this, now make it a mutant. Because the way mechanics like Prowler are coded, they call for type line 1 specifically, not the type line of their face. Gotcha. Fair enough. Easy enough to fix just, manually. So, not a problem. They could even be different colors. This side could be green. And then this, of course, would have the sort of text. This would be a 3-sided card. And just the battlefield is one of 2 things on this side, or just as a human on the front side. Actually, I'm not going to lie. This cycle feels like a rare. This whole cycle. We should probably change them all. You may not even be part of the cycle, so I'll leave that out. Do both sides mutants, so you have 4 options. Yeah, you're a good sorcerer. I was just, I've felt like that for a while, but just hadn't gotten to it yet. Okay, so we can have this side enter as one of 2 things. If you've dealt damage with a mutant. I'm not sure if this is even a good design at this point. I'm having trouble coming up with ideas. Huh. Any thoughts? Give who, what, when, why, where some competition. Okay, obviously this would have some, like, I don't know, 2 and a blue. For a human with something. Maybe he does something with research on the human side? Or is that too specific? I guess it's a case file. So that doesn't make much sense. Base it on insectile aberration. Delver of Secrets. That was the card front. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, idea being like he's a human and he turns into an insect. That's basically the idea here. He turns into some weird thing. But I do want the sides, like, since it's modal, you want both sides to have some utility. Obviously, if you hit with a human, you're casting the human side. If you hit with a mutant, you're casting the mutant side. But whichever one it is, and in limited, it might be hard to choose which one you're getting. We want it to do something helpful. But also potentially have the 2 sides be synergistic with each other. Maybe that doesn't matter, since in constructed, you probably are choosing which side you want. Vegetation has been dealt with, and I am back. Take that, green. Yeah. Screw green. We don't need any green at all. I'm just throwing random costs on here. Obviously, it's really dependent on what the card does. So we could have it enter as something like ridiculous, like a 0-9. Or like a 1-9 or 9-1. Obviously, at that point, it's a lot of mana you need to put into it. Have it enter as a land. For one option, yeah. Forest. Land? Could it just say forest? It has tag. Oh, this can go away. That's redundant. That's a really good idea. Colorless forest land. That's a really good suggestion. Okay. I feel like that should be the second option. Two, 5. Tree folk creature? Come on, E. With reach. Copy of Life and Limb, copy of Lenore's Fury, Freyalise Lenore's Fury. Yeah, there was one of those cards in Lorwyn, right? Branch. I feel like it had branch in the name. Reach of Branches, that's the one I'm thinking of. Right, well, I got to check out. It's 3 a.m. and what was fun to hang out. I need my beauty sleep. Oh, fair enough, Flynn. Thank you so much for stopping by, giving your suggestions. I really appreciate it. So I will look forward to seeing you next week. Okay. I really, really like this idea. It's very weird. So the front side. Copy of Monk's Lotus. I mean, it could just be simple, like draw a card. Wait, we do the MDFC without the prowl bit and make it actually a 6-faced card. If you have the front be a mutant, we can have 4 options. That's a good point. Okay, so we're saying this has turned into completely a different card. I'm on board with it. Not a like manaless prowl option. 2 mutants with normal power and toughness. They can each optionally morph into 2 different forms as an MDFC. Okay. You may have card name enter the battlefield as your choice of. Oops. And so then they have power and toughness. Look, I am on board for having a single card with 6 modes. As long as it's fair. You know, versatility is very good. So, you know, it needs to be appropriately costed, which is a bit high for any given mode that you could get. Okay, so if the front normal face is a 3/2, see, make the back 2 and a green. Oops. For a 3/2 trample, they can enter as a 2/3 reach or a forest. Yeah, 2/5 tree folk doesn't make much sense now. Yeah, you're right. It should be. Mutant tree folk, thank you. Or what if we have a colorless card with no casting cost and 5 alternate casting costs in each color? Combine the cycle into 1. Wow, these are some really good ideas. Oh, hold on. Does that make sense in blue, or is it just like too formulaic? Should we do something completely different on the blue side? Oh, right. It's unaffected by summoning, sickness, and has... Alright, yeah, I think that might just be too redundant, or like too... Kind of want to call this Hyperprotean Life Form / Hyperprotean Land Form. Have the blue one be a simple artifact for its non-creature mode. Okay, simple artifact. I'm thinking like Man, I can't think of card names tonight. I'm thinking icy. What was it? Not funny? There we go. Yeah. A non-creature artifact with 3 blue tap, draw a card. That's pretty good. Come on. 4. No, it was 3 blue. I'll get there eventually. Draw a card. Make the faces 1 blue blue, 1 GG. A copy of Mystic Study, a copy of Cure Best the Sea God. All right. Congrats, we have literally created Strictly Better Scepter of Insight. Better in that it has 5 other modes you can play it as. To be fair, there's some room for Scepter of Insight to get better. Like, honestly, look at... Again, I can't think of card names, but I can think of the back name. Mysterious Tome. Yes, it only lets you draw a card every other turn, but it's an easier casting cost. It's 2 cheaper to draw a card, and like the other side is not bad either. Yeah, I think Scepter's a little bad, at least by current design standards. I still feel the front side should be a mutant too if you're going... Oh, yes, sorry, I just have not changed that. You're correct. The front is a 2/2 flyer. I feel like there needs to be some space between these things. Okay, so it can enter as a 0/7 defender. Nice. Sorry. This 0/7 mutant wall with defender. This is silly. Okay, maybe I just take out this for now. I will go out of my way to try to get an MDFC frame working for this. If you can't, that is okay. But I do like the idea of a card with 6 modes. Now, keeping track of which mode it was played as could be a little bit hellish. But is it worth it? Maybe. I also feel like this should be mythic, if only because it's so complicated we don't want it showing up all the time. On it. With the land on the green side, still have trample. Or am I losing it? I don't think so. I think it's entering as just what it says here, and everything else goes away. That said, if we do want to make the cards a bit more simple, we could get rid of the abilities on the main, like, base versions of each side. Here's a quick mock-up of what I was talking about too. Excellent, thank you. I didn't want to forget about that idea. I just wanted to finish the other one. This card's ridiculous, and I love it. All right, let's get rid of this for now too. I'll figure it out. Okay, so now that we got this done, yeah, let's move on to what Cyber5 was suggesting as potentially another rare. Okay, its name is Hyperform Maximus. We've stopped designing a set and are just designing Fever Dreams. Well, you know what? I can live with that. We are having too much fun. Miracle for white, Prowl for 2 blue, Evoke for black. Oh no. Dash for 3 and a red. We probably don't need all these. Well, what happened to my Prowl? And morph. Okay. This should be the name of a set we make sometime tomorrow's Fever Dreams. Yeah, it's not really a set so much as we took all of the stupidest designs we ever made and we just put them all into one set file. Okay, now that it has 5 ways to cast it, it needs to do something. Okay, so since it has Prowl, it must have a creature type. Creature type is mutant. The original... Oh, sorry. You're right. I'm not looking at the original. The original is a mutant. Oh. And it does a thing, and its thing is just that it is a 4/3. That actually seems reasonable. Enters with a +1/+1 counter on it for each mana spent to cast it. The more expensive the cost you pay, the bigger it is. Evoke here is real bad. Yes, it is. If it does nothing besides be a 4/3, then Evoke's pretty terrible. Unless you just need to get it in your graveyard for some reason, or you want a death trigger. Swap Evoke for Emerge. Put just black and Miracle 1 and a white, and then you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 cost. Huh. The problem is, are all these costs actually fair? I mean, Miracle costs are really hard to set up, so like you can make it cost pretty much whatever and it's fine. Make the Emerge cost 4 and a black. The Morph cost 3 green. The Dash cost 2 red. Prowl 1 blue. Oops. and the Miracle White. 1, 2, 5, 3, 4. Yeah, I think that works. Prowl's the only one you're worried about here. Yeah, that one's a little strong. It is reliant on having mutants. I mean, we could even change it to have a much less common creature type. It's not too bad. It's not like if this were the only way to cast it by hitting with a mutant, because we do have 4 other ways to cast it. Swap Prowl for Foretell. And then it no longer needs to be a mutant. I still like the idea that it scales off how much mana you spend. I don't hate that. The question is, can we fit that on this card? TB with a... Hold on. No, is it C11? There was something. 1C1. With a +1/+1 counter on it for each mana you spent to cast it. The problem with that is Morph. That's not going to work. Dash. Well, we would just have to make it a lot smaller for the dash to be fair. Sorry. Maybe have Emerge as 3 black and Morph as 4 green. Maybe Megamorph even. So let's see. If we were to do it this way, it would need to be like, let's say it's a 1/1. You miracle it, you get a 2/2. You foretell it, and then play it for 2, you get a 3/3. Okay, I mean that's the rate for Seraph's Packmate and for the Flyer Augury Raven. So it's a little worse, you're not getting the card draw or the flying, but obviously you have so many different ways you can play it. Versatility is worth that. If you emerge it, well, it's actually, you have to sacrifice a creature. Let's say you sacrifice a 0 mana creature, a token. You're paying the full cost. You're getting a 5/5 for 4. When I first mentioned the scaling, it wasn't a 4/3 base. Yeah, that's fair. That's why I scaled it down to 1. Yeah, I know when I originally said, well, that seems really unfair. It was a 4/3, but yeah, so I'm trying to scale it down. I guess we could scale it to a 0/0. At that point, it does seem quite bad. Well, okay, the Miracle version, very bad. Very conditional 1/1. Foretell version, again, pretty bad. Emerge version, it could be a 4/4 for 4 in black if you sacrifice a token to it. Dash, it's a 3/3 haste for 3. That's generally an uncommon for 1 red. But that's balanced out by the fact that it's returning to your hand at end of turn. Megamorph. The problem with Megamorph is this does not work with any morph at all because it's entering face down, so you don't get this ability. I guess it would be enters the battlefield or is turned face up. No, then you'd have to put it there too. The cast bit doesn't work. Yeah. Yes. Just go back to it being a 4/3. I think that is better. I did want to try Mekmoose's idea because it's not a bad idea. I just do think it kind of makes sense as a simpler, hey, here's a solid body that you can cast in any number of ways. Well, 5 ways exactly. Yeah, and it still feels relatively fair, right? I don't think there's any... I mean, the most busted mode is miracling this on turn 2. But even then, if your opponent's on the play, they can play a 3-2 or whatever on turn 3 and be ready to block this by the time it can attack. Yeah. Very cool. I just really like how each ability is flavored very well to its color. You know, Miracle is, very white. Foretell is very blue. Emerge, quite black. Dash is very red. And Megamorph, Morph is in all colors, but let's be honest. Green does it best. You cannot Miracle it on turn 1, because on turn 1 you have no land in play. Unless you have a Gemstone Caverns. So you would go to draw it. You could reveal it, but you have no mana with which to play it yet. So then you have to play your land, and then you can't cast it anymore because you're no longer in your draw step. Okay, you know that. You're just mentioning Gemstone Caverns. Fair enough. We do not have that in this format. Miracle is white because if you're playing white, you're praying for good top decks. Okay, I will say, with this card in the format, with Miracle, I think that we should have something that sets up the top of your deck. Just one card, maybe an uncommon, but I think the possibility should be there. We do. Surveil. Yeah? Yeah, I guess so. I guess I was talking more along the lines of brainstorming. You can put a card on top. But no, you're right. Scrying and Surveil both kind of fulfill... Obviously, we're not doing Scrying, just Surveil. But that fills that role pretty well. Don't we have an artifact with repeatable Surveil? I do not know. That doesn't sound super familiar. Let me take a look. And it will make it visible to everybody else as well. Here we go. We made a play on riddle form with puzzle form. Or did that go nowhere? I remember it coming up at some point. It may have come up. It may be something that got suggested and then we were doing something else and we didn't get to it. Unfortunately, I can't always get to everything. So, I don't think... I think making an artifact with repeatable Surveil could be good. Or, yeah, I guess if you're just thinking about puzzle form. Okay. Well, we've been streaming for about 3.5 hours. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to accomplish before we are done tonight? Probably do like this. Because I'm probably ready to get off pretty soon here, but in case there were any other ideas that we wanted to knock out of the park before we do, want to give people the opportunity. Okay. Well, I'm pretty happy with some of the designs we've come up with today. I'll try and come up with some more red-white cards if you need any. Yeah, that's probably good. I know we didn't completely get through all the red-white stuff that you had suggested, but I think red-white is in a better place now that we've circled back around. And now that we have a good idea of how we want to do the artifact theme. But yeah, I'm I'm really excited. I think we made some cool designs tonight. This one is really cool and can be quite workable. As opposed to, where'd it go? This one, which, hold on, Oop. Which is very cool, but also has a lot of hurdles. So not sure if we'll end up doing this one. And then just like the alternate cast cycle in general, very cool. Obviously, if we're also doing Hyperform Maximus, we probably want to switch it up so that basically it has probably so that it has none of the same casting conditions as the other cards in the cycle. But it seems like we were able to find at least 10 mechanics anyway, so we could do one for each color plus 5 different ones on Hyperform Maximus. We still need to go back and adjust the old cards. Yeah, Mac Moose, we do. Let me write that down too. So for next week, we want to do we probably want to talk about all of our legendary creatures, decide who we want, what rarities and whatnot. At some point, we need to reassess old cards who may not have a place in the set anymore because we've changed archetypes or whatever. Anything else? I feel like white-blue artifacts as a theme hasn't necessarily gotten the help that it needs. So I think we obviously need to do more work on red-white. So I think we also need to do more work on white-blue, just all the artifacts in general. A case file that can't be put in your deck. You have to learn or wish for it. That's funny. So just more Jeskai artifact stuff. Yes, I know we did Jeskai artifacts in Yeldavar. This was not intentional to repeat that idea. But you know what? Sometimes that's how it is. Changing the white side of red-white should help white-blue as well. So yeah, we can tackle that at the same time. Yeah, I think just we were pulling white in too many directions before. So now we can really solidify what it's going for. Now that we have a better idea of what the set's doing. Blue isn't particularly artifact focused though, right? The idea is that white-blue would be artifact focused. It would be research and artifacts. But currently it's not super artifact focused because we didn't really do a good job of setting up the theme in the first place. So, and we can reinvest it, like, white, blue, and black are the research colors, which means, like, white and blue can have a research theme just because they have research cards, but that doesn't necessarily mean that has to be the white-blue theme, you know. So I guess I was thinking that it was going to be more of an artifact-focused theme, but of course, since both colors have research, you could do a pretty good research deck or sub-theme in your deck with it as well. Sort of like how in Midnight Hunt, blue-red is a Spells Matter theme, but both colors have day-night shenanigans. And so you can make a day-night deck with red-blue, even though that's actually not like the color's theme. So interesting that just like based on where mechanics lie in a set, some color pairs may have like multiple potential themes to go for, which I don't think is a bad thing. Okay, I guess we'll probably call it here for the night. Thank you everyone for showing up. I noticed Mirrodin showed up again for the first time in a while, so I appreciated seeing you again. And thank you to everybody else, as always, for just showing up, giving your good designs. I'm really excited about where the set's going. I feel like the last few streams before this were maybe a bit uninspired. We were just muddling through some stuff. But I'm really excited about where we got tonight. And hopefully the set will continue to improve in the future. An artifact that has 4 tap, put a charge counter on it, then it's a tax effect or propaganda. Sounds cool. Should just default, I guess. And then so what day will the next stream possibly be then? Okay. I am planning to do Mondays and Thursdays. Yes. I will let you know if that needs to change, but at the very least, the next one will be Monday night. I'm going to have to push it back an hour just for dinner purposes, which I guess may be troublesome for some people. So hopefully it's not too big of a deal. So that'll be like 8 p.m. Eastern time. Is 1 for each charge counter on this. As is, that seems like a really bad, really slow card, but we're just getting the idea down. Okay. Thank you all so much. Have a good night, everybody. Hope to see you on Monday.